unpopular opinions around burnout. I don't believe in burnout.
You have too much going on that you're not managing well. Oh, because you eat terrible and then you don't know when you're going to get back and get right. People don't know how to fucking celebrate the small wins. Come on, champ. Come on, champ. This is behavioral.
Do I have clarity on this is how I got to show up every day because I'm on the maker schedule?
Your brain's depleted. Your body's depleted. Why are you doing that to yourself? It's dumb.
Yeah, I pushed some buttons. I think that was one of them ones. Like, I'm clapping for that. Stay Sharp, episode 35. I'm Jordan Ray. He is Rashad Tyler. We are your co-hosts for the Stay Sharp podcast.
Yes.
This is produced by Rare Label, which we are the dynamic duo behind.
Talk your talk.
A visionary agency.
We are very dynamic.
Yeah. We're very oppositional sometimes, dynamic, can be colorful, and can be solid, just kind of consistent.
You're the person who makes it, I don't know, like you give it the veneer,
Well, I'm the person who changed this set. If you've been here before, you will notice that we are not on our beautiful topaz couch. We are in our beautiful topaz chairs.
I just got an education. I did not know that was topaz.
I don't know if it is, but it's what I said. So you see us in the chairs. I did persuade Rashad to switch up our set just a bit. I felt like the couch wasn't working, in all honesty. And if you're visiting us for the first time, welcome into the Stay Sharp world. And I'm really glad to have you. Nice to meet you.
Yes.
But we switched the set. I felt like the couch was a little bit it made us too soft. And I felt like for the sake of our conversations, we needed to have a bit more like a barrier between us so we could really talk to each other, but also talk to you and, just have our own spaces while we're having these conversations. Anyways.
Yeah, I'm not smart enough to know how to connect the dots on that, but I am smart enough to know to get out of the way when a genius is at work. So, I'm clear that, once we kind of got into the build or getting this situated, it is a better feel.
Yeah. I just took a shot. So we'll see.
Yeah.
Anyways, we did take about 3 weeks off. We're back. I wanted to catch you all up on something that we are bringing to the content lineup. So in addition to these obviously pre-recorded episodes, we're also going to be going live every other week. So our Stay Sharp pre-recorded episodes will be every other Tuesday at 8 a.m. So not every Tuesday anymore. And then our live sessions, which we're coining as MindSetShift, will go on live YouTube at 4 o'clock Central on Thursdays, every other Thursday. So this will be recapped for you in the description, but MindSetShift is going to be our check-in and Q&A where we can give real-time advice, tell real-time stories, and also just hold each other accountable for us mindset shifting. We're always talking about personal and professional development. That's the two pillars on this podcast. So Mindset Shift, I'm really excited to get going with that next Thursday, y'all.
Yeah. I think it's sometimes like you actually need to get real feedback. And when we're talking to ourselves, like we're limited in terms of what we can like bring to the table. And until we get into the guest environment, which, we'll do at some point, we think it's better to talk to the people that have shown interest and can find value in what we bring to the table. So
100%.
Yeah. I'm hype about it.
What's new with you though?
I became a tea drinker.
You're slowly doing a few glasses of tea a week.
Yeah.
Can you taste what you're sipping?
Not. Nope. I just go with what you've already purchased.
He just just whatever I want.
I like,
but you don't.
I like what Jordan like.
Yeah, we have some jasmine green tea.
Yeah.
I am I am on an elimination diet right now. If you follow my personal channels, you'll see me.
Or we are.
Well, I am. I don't know if you're going to go through the reintroduction phase like I am.
So this is the part I'm not clear about.
Anyways, y'all, if you follow me on my personal channel, you've seen me talk about this probably.
The reintroduction part, I'm just a little hazy.
So I've eliminated a lot of stuff out of my diet. A lot. Grains, dairy, eggs, nuts and seeds, inflammatory oils, added sugars, legumes, a lot. And
another education. I did not know that's how you said that. Say that word.
What's that?
Legumes.
What? How do you thought you said it?
I'm not gonna do that to myself.
I want to know. The people want to know.
Bro, it ain't legumes.
What?
What do you mean, what?
Say it louder.
No, I'm not saying it louder. It was bad. Legumes is, I didn't know what the hell it was, yo. Legumes? Like, it's not the most, like,
legumes
used word.
Okay, whatever. So I've eliminated legumes from my diet.
Jesus.
And a lot of other things. So eventually, after this 8-week period, I'm on week 3. After 8 weeks, I will reintroduce these things back into my diet. It's a very structured reintroduction. So you don't do everything all at once because you want to know what has affected you,
right? What's
going to affect you, how you're going to respond to dairy after you've not had dairy for 8 weeks, how you're going to respond to sugar, so on and so forth.
So you reintroduce,
I don't think that you'll reintroduce.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, why
because you bring them back to see how your body reacts, and you can still decide after the fact whether or not
you want to keep it. Or bring it
whether
back.
or not you want to keep it or do it in, smaller amounts or something like that. I'm really eager to reintroduce eggs back into my diet because the more I've read about eggs, the more I've learned that some people just don't really do as well with eggs. You're not necessarily allergic. It's not like a lactose thing. It's not a gluten thing, obviously, but it's just the way your body responds. And because I am a person who I like scrambled eggs or like breakfast burritos, and I bake with, when you bake, you put eggs in a lot of things, but perhaps that's causing me to feel some sort of way. And I don't know.
Yeah.
But I'm not really interested. I actually have been really good with the sugar. I've been really good with the bread, which is really surprising for me. But I don't have the cravings for like the bread anymore. However, on a weekend, if we go to brunch, like I want to have a pancake, I want to know that I can have a pancake and not my body inflame.
Right.
So that's why you reintroduce, but you can still decide that I'm just not going to maybe eat this anymore or really like limit when I eat this. It's like holidays or celebrations. Anyway, so saying all that to say, we're drinking the tea, we're doing the diet thing. That's maybe certainly the latest thing in my world. The latest thing, which you said you was drinking tea. We've been watching a lot of basketball lately. Obviously, just got through March Madness. The Pelicans are doing what they're doing. The Thunder is doing what they're doing.
Yes.
And the WNBA, they doing what they doing.
So, you know what? This would be the right time for me to do this. It makes it easier for me to not have to create additional content. So I'm going to do this right now around my preseason NBA predictions. Okay. So I have 4 teams that I follow. The Pelicans, obviously we're in New Orleans. It'd be weird not to be supportive of your local team. So cool. I grew up a Magic fan, always keeping an eye on them. I told you before the season started, if you remember, that they were going to be a play-in team. I lied. They're in the playoffs. So overperformed there. Lakers, some of us are LeBron fans. I'm one of them. Not a super fan, but certainly just,
you recognize, you a witness.
Impossible to ignore what he is. Then the fourth, and the one that we're most excited about is, that face, the Thunder. Right. So Oklahoma City Thunder ends the season as the number 1 seed. In my note, I said that there will be 2 of my teams will make I forget what on each side. So I had the Magic as a play-in team. They actually are a playoff team. Cool, great, officially in. I had one of the three as on the other side, one of them being a play-in team. I always thought it would be the Lakers, but there was a chance that it could be the Pelicans. And it turns out that the Pelicans got replaced by the Lakers in the 7th spot. So now the Pelicans are fighting for their lives. They got one more game to see if they can make it into the tournament. But the other thing was I have one of my teams will make it to the second round. So now if the Pelicans make it in, they will be matched up against the Thunder. And that guarantees that only one of my teams will make it to the second round. Now the Lakers, if they do, which they're a 7 seed, they're playing Denver, very unlikely. Mm-hmm. So my prediction looks so incredibly on point.
Yeah, you did good.
I did amazing.
You really did. But you know your stuff. It's a little hard for me to follow like the whole playoff and the play-in thing at this point. And me being a basketball person, I should really wrap my head around that.
Yeah.
But it's hard. I am just kind of like, okay, who wins and who loses? But you know, you're here for that to help me stay on track.
Yeah. I mean, look, since we live so close to games, right? Live in a city where there's a team and can literally walk to games. It's just made the NBA more accessible to us than college or even high school basketball. So it's a very odd lifestyle difference that we have today than how we grew up.
Yeah.
But NBA is our game because it's literally our best local option.
100%. Yeah. Speaking of basketball, last thing that I want to give a nod to is the WNBA draft. Beautiful programming, although in the first 10 or 15 minutes, the first 2 draft picks was live casted in Spanish, could not even get the English.
Shame on you.
Yeah, it was tough. I was really upset because
terrible.
I had to go back and rewatch, the Caitlin Clark, the Cameron Brink call. So yeah, really cool. I think what's super special about that is
Who's the best player in the WNBA draft?
Besides Caitlin Clark?
Okay, I was just checking.
Is that a question? I mean, I don't think that that's something that I'm not going to argue. She really shattered every record. So like after that, maybe I would be able to.
There's always like the redraft thing that happens later on when people's careers play out. So I'm just trying to get some early markers because
What do you think?
I think Cameron Brink may end up being.
Yeah, I told you she was like
player.
The number 1 pick.
Yeah.
Kinda.
She would have been consensus the number 1 pick. 6'8" and do everything. Dog, got all of the tools.
Yeah. I definitely want to shout out. It's crazy that we know some of the people who styled and participated in, the red carpet and the just the overall look. Everybody looked amazing. And so, shout out to Brittany Hampton and Renee Goddard. They did some styling and hair for several of the players in the draft. And that was just cool to see, like, from their perspective, that go down in New York. And, for us to have connections with those people and to see that happening on the women's basketball side is just like, I'm really excited now for, where all those women are taking the game and taking their craft, honestly. So cool. Yeah.
One last point around that. I do believe that some of our WNBA veterans, like the people that we already know, have really stepped up. And I think they'll get so much more shine as a result. The person that I've seen immediately kind of jump out is Erica Wheeler, who is the teammate, obviously, of Caitlin Clark now. And so, like, I'm seeing how E. Wheeler is like kind of
ready to go.
Yeah, well, she was like, just being protective already, being a great veteran. And so that's something that we're starting to now get eyes into, because those players who are coming into the league, who may have more momentum and more popularity, they're going to actually be able to transfer some of those eyeballs into the existing veterans and their inspirations a little bit more. It's a very different type of shift from the NBA. So Erica Wheeler has always been a fantastic person and player. And I thought if we're giving shout outs, I should do the same there.
Yeah, I love it.
Yeah.
Really love it.
All right.
We're here today to talk about burnout and our unpopular opinions around burnout, possibly, but some things that are pretty relatable. So burnout is this occupational phenomenon, according to the World Health Organization. It is not a medical condition, but it has been recognized by the WHO as an occupational phenomenon. This man, on the other hand,
I seen you trying to cut my legs early with this.
Yeah, he like I don't believe in burnout. So
I do believe there is such thing as burnout. But go ahead.
Yeah, I'm just gonna dissect that. I'm gonna share my thoughts and opinions on burnout, and hopefully relate to you who is watching, and you're gonna share your perspective and possibly even how we overcome that.
Yeah.
My mind over the last 4 or 5 years has really evolved around burnout. I think at first I was kind of like, nah, that's, weak. It's not something that everybody experiences. It's a lie. I thought that you just work through things and you expect that things aren't going to be easy. So when you're feeling worn down, when you're feeling like you don't understand the purpose of something, that's just a moment in time. It's not necessarily burnout.
No.
We don't need to attribute everything to burnout. And then burnout became, a buzzword. So on the other side of that, 3, 4, 5 years later, I really do think that there are moments of burnout that I've had, but I try to really get to the root cause of what I'm experiencing. Yeah. So I'm not just attributing this like blanket word to it. And I'm really like, no, I am burnt out or tired, fatigued, bored, confused because of this specific reason. And sometimes it takes a little work to get to understand that. But that's my evolution with it anyways. Yeah. Your thoughts on burnout, I feel, are pretty different.
I think the definition has always been problematic because the problem most times is people I don't think folks have a framing of how to go about work. It's like the difference between preparing to be a sprinter and preparing to run a marathon. You need to think about it entirely different. Your nutrition is different. Your training is different, right? Your mental preparation is totally different.
So you're saying the way that maybe some of us approach how we're going to go about accomplishing something.
Approach life as a sprint.
Where you should be approaching life as a marathon. Okay. So what about the times where you need to sprint?
Because there is sprinting in marathon running, right?
I never ran a marathon.
But right. Yeah, you're like, oh yeah, that makes sense. Yes, at the end. You need to have the ability to close things out, the ability to finish.
But you don't just wait till the end of your life to sprint.
No, because life is not like one perfect marathon. It's a series of marathons, right? And so if you understand that, then you have the ability to frame how you rest, recover, prepare, how hard you go in certain moments, how hard you need to maybe be in certain moments. And that's all the difference. If you are just like eating poorly, sleeping poorly, socially overwhelmed, and then you go, well, I'm overwhelmed with work or I'm burnt out from work. No, you have too much going on that you're not managing well. And so you're physiologically going through something that you shouldn't be going through because you don't have a proper understanding of how to prepare, decelerate, separate, recover. You don't know how to do the things that it takes to run a marathon.
Yeah, your suggestion sounds like to understand when you're in a sprint and when you're in a marathon.
That's all.
And you're preparing and you're putting yourself in different environments depending on if you're sprinting or running a longer distance.
When I first started in the music business, everybody would like work so hard and they would always be sick. And I'm like, why are you always sick? Oh, because you eat terrible. You're out in the club. You're doing all of these things that you don't have to do that are going to cut away from your ability to show up and, do this for a long time. Again, like using like LeBron, for example, like it's a reason he's played forever.
Yeah. How he literally fuels himself.
Correct.
Yeah.
How he rests, how he eats, how he, all of the things in between.
That's part of the reason why I get my 8 hours a night of sleep. Because if you listen to any high achiever, maybe not any, but most, over the marathons that they've done, they're always prioritize your rest. And so I've been in scenarios where, of course, there's sometimes need to stay up a little bit later, or I would rather actually get up earlier and do some stuff earlier in the morning. So I'm like, I still want to go to bed at like my bedtime, but I'm okay with getting up earlier. If that means, okay, I only slept for 5 or 6 hours rather than like staying up late. Cause I feel like when I stay up late, I just end up staying up and I become fatigued, which then leads to the burnout that I might feel.
That's where we always have the conflict.
When I'm fatigued?
No, about like what a sleep pattern should look like. Mm-hmm. So most of the things that we have argument about, it's nuance, right? Because I'm looking at sleep over a week's time. And you're looking at sleep over a 24-hour cycle. Maybe
not 24 hours, but not a week. Maybe 3 or 4 days.
Yeah. And I think that's actually a lot more accurate to how I see it. Right?
Yeah.
Because I know like at the end of probably about 4 days, like I need to get the average about right. So if I have like, one of those days is a 4, one of those days is a 6, and then I can compensate the difference. Like I'm just paying attention to what happens, because if I commit myself too hardcore, too committed to like the timeline, like 8 hours, then I don't complete things that may have required or asked me to stay in it for 2 or 3 more hours.
Yeah.
Right.
It's because a delicate dance.
It's a dance. And I think, there are people like, well, this is as far as I got. And to get yourself ramped back up and in the clarity, because we do creative work, obviously. So it's a little bit different than some other things. But I think anytime, even if you're writing, like if you break when you're in the flow of it, you don't know when you're going to be able to get back into that specific flow or get that same level of clarity. So like, do you make a decision to disengage right then? It's like, well, it's my bedtime. It's quitting time. And then you don't know when you're going to get back and get right. So like you're supposed to, that's your closeout. That's the end of, all right, I can see the finish line. Stick to this, even though it's a little bit uncomfortable. I'm in flow. Let me finish.
I have a lot to share back. I'm going to start somewhere.
Yeah.
So now that we've got that out the way, that one of the ways to possibly combat some of the burnout is to really take inventory of your environment and how you're resting and how you're eating. Cool. Like we talk about these things all the time personally, with our friend groups, with our families. So that's nothing new. If you are around us, that we're really big on rest, nutrition, activity, physical activity,
baseline,
so on and so forth.
The basics.
That's out the way. With the clarity that you need sometimes, or rather the manager maker schedule. So that's also something that Rashad and I have ebbs and flows with, is the type of work that we do. Yes, we are also creative entrepreneurs or business owners, freelancers, contract, however you want to think about it. Like we do contract work, we do project work. We also run our own business and we are scaling certain ideas. You participate in several different businesses, right? So there's a lot of time management that you have to do, but because you are also a marketer, a designer, all of those things, programmer, you actually have to do the work. So depending on the task, depending on what your week looks like in general, that's where I think now you can decide, okay, well, this week I just know I'm going to get a little bit less rest, but I know I'm going to stay on top of my nutrition because I'm going to get a little bit less rest because I'm on the maker schedule. Whereas sometimes I am more heavily on the manager schedule. And I'm like, I need to be up when the rest of the world is up. I need to, make sure I'm super sharp because I'm leading the calls, maybe most of the calls that we have with our partners and our clients. Mm-hmm. So that's one reason why I'm like, no. Actually, even though you're on a different schedule than me a lot of times, it's best for me to combat my burnout because I don't want to get to the end of the race and I can't sprint. So I steady pace.
Yeah. I mean, but I think there's another input and maybe, you were going to get to it, but I'm just like, it's also having a clear view on where you're going, like why, having your why in there. I'm sure we'll talk about like meditation and all of the rest of that at some point.
Maybe we will, maybe we won't, but we should talk more about the why and the purpose, the clarity.
The why, but here's what I also want to add to it. Like people don't know how to fucking celebrate the small wins. Mm-hmm. That's why you're getting burnt out because you're waiting for this fucking pot at the end of the rainbow. I'm telling you, I'm clear about it. That's why I can sustain because I know how to celebrate every day.
I don't want to make assumptions about how other people are celebrating, but
when people
see a lot of people celebrating,
that might be different. They may be celebrating things that are non-wins, right?
Okay.
Or setting themselves up to like get a pat on the back. That's not warranted. But there's the other end, which I think is more damaging, where you're just like, oh, well, until we actually get him. Like, no, you celebrate that right now. Like we're athletes, right? I am your teammate who you make that pass. Yo, every play, I'm in it. Every play, we're maximizing every play. And I'm giving you thumbs up, thumbs down on every play. Now we can do that better. Now we got to make that rotation. Come on, champ. Right? This is how I'm talking on the floor. Mm-hmm. So like when something happens, make that play. Yeah. And when I'm coaching, yeah. That's you. Get there. Good job. Right? So whatever it is, whether I'm trying to get somebody into an action or into a movement to close out on something, if they do it well, clap immediately. I'm not waiting to the end of the game to give them notes.
Yeah, I definitely struggle with that where I'm more of, we ain't won the game yet or we ain't won the championship yet. So I'm trying to stay really focused on, the purpose. Well, we came here to win this championship.
And how does that get lost with the action? Like, because I'm like, hey,
it doesn't necessarily get lost. That's just my personal, and I'm not saying that it's right, but that's how I have approached a lot of things. Mm-hmm. And I'm not saying what you're doing is wrong either. Yeah. I think that's why it may not be fair for me to say, but I'm very clear that this is what I'm saying is championship behavior. And so when I watch other people like defend these other positions, I'm like, I'll say right now, I think that's wrong. Yeah. So you think that like everybody on a team has to.
If we have a good call, you say, yo, we had a good call.
Everybody on the team, every single person from top down.
Anytime there are good moments, you reinforce it. Anytime there are bad moments, you flag it.
And I don't think that that's realistic. I don't think that that's realistic that a team of however many people, like everybody's going to respond in that way. Not that they aren't on board.
They cannot, but that's why I'm the culture creator. So I'm going like my responsibility is create culture. Mm-hmm. I have to teach you how to think about that.
Not everybody's going to react.
I ain't worried about that because I'm creating a culture.
Yeah.
So like when I think about like what winning culture, again, over referencing basketball, for example, like
hopefully y'all know some about basketball.
Well, even if I take it off of that, like every organization, whether it be a football organization or a basketball organization, it could be a insurance company. Right? You're setting the tone and your markers for what your revenue goals are, your sales goals are. And the more clear you are about that and what competitors are doing, everybody should be very, very clear about like, here's what we're trying to get to. Mm-hmm. So the how we get there is to get everybody like running and pushing their legs to the best of their ability. So when somebody's straying away, hey man, no, we don't do that around here. This could be in the insurance business. It could be like, yo, man, nah. We show up on time to meetings, right? That's flagging a mistake. Everybody got here early, yo, this is fantastic. Everybody got here early. That's what we do, right? That's what I'm saying. Like, this is behavioral. Like, you have to train people to expect to be flagged when they're showing up half-assed and to be rewarded, right? So even if you were running a sales organization, what do? You have a leaderboard. So-and-so at the end of the day, like they had 6 sales, ring the bell, boo, 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 right? So I'm just saying, like, everywhere you've seen winning culturally, this is how it's done.
Yeah.
All that other thing is just like, it's just excuse making. And I just lay back because I know we're in a softer world where people don't want to be pushed or nudged to when they're not accepting what's standard or high practice. And it's clear that it's not.
Yeah, I agree with a lot of what you're saying.
Yeah.
And I'm still of the position that not everybody responds in the same way or exudes that type of support and encouragement around, in their teammates in that co-working world or the collaboration world exactly like you. But it doesn't, like what you're doing is great, but I think that there's more than one way. So but you're making it sound like there's this way or there's the other ways are wrong.
If you're in a leadership role, the vocal leader or the tone setter, that's what you have to do. Everything that you're talking about, or what I hear is you're talking about the other people that are the recipients, the receivers. So now we're talking about the difference between Kawhi and LeBron. That's exactly what I'm saying. But Kawhi is not your vocal leader and he's not your culture setter.
Right. Yeah. So I agree with what you're saying in the realm of being and what everything you just said. I'm clapping for that. Yeah. I'm looking at just a bigger picture of, a full program, a team, and I'm saying that not everybody is in that position that now everybody is a LeBron. So just because you're like, oh, I handled this like LeBron did or like Kobe would or whatever, like these are my references. I'm like, well, other people have other references. Like there's a lot of ways to be successful. And there's a lot of ways to push past the nuances of being burnt out. And no, if we're bringing it back to being burnt out, I wouldn't necessarily bring that up in that way, right? It doesn't keep you from being burnt out or not, but it helps you be aware of how to, when you get praise or when you get like an attaboy, dopamine, right? That's a part of how your body and your mind works. So that's why it's so important to do. Yeah. Right? I mean, it's the like on Instagram. You're looking for the attaboy. And I just think without adding, I'm glad you pushed back on that because that's exactly what it is. That's why you do it. Because you need people to get the dopamine hit, which is physiological, which pushes you out and further away from burning out. So when you're waiting to get dopamine at the end, you're depleted. Your brain's depleted. Your body's depleted. Why are you doing that to yourself? It's dumb. Yeah. Let me try to reel it in a little bit. So we started talking about the way you show up as a leader. Yeah. Because we were, I think, pinpointing having clarity. Yeah. Having clarity, having that through line, having the, trying to make sure everything feels crystal clear in your vision on what you're trying to accomplish. And I think that's something that when I feel like I'm getting worn down, I'm wondering, is it fatigue, right? I'm attacking that first. Fatigue, nutrition, just the basics, like the survival needs, your necessities. I'm checking that first. Yeah. Am I just tired? Okay, cool. Moving beyond that, I am checking down, well, am I clear? Like, do I have clarity on why I'm showing up every day? And do I remember my why? That encourages me to continue to show up as a leader, even if I'm like, well, I need to show up as a leader just for myself right now. Has nothing to do with anybody else, but let me get clear on the purpose. So reeling it back in, I think that all of that comes down to, well, like I've decided to be the culture setter on this team or on this, for these sorts of people or my company, my business, my family. This is how I got to show up every day and celebrate myself. So I'm not, burning out too often or whatever. Cool. I think another level back to the creative space, possibly even the work space when you're working with clients, for me is like boredom, checking myself, like, am I bored? And how do I get past bored?
With the
is the burnout
project?
Boredom? Well, I've felt sometimes with certain client work, maybe it's with certain services, maybe it's on actual certain projects. Am I just bored with it? and let me.
You might be.
I might. No, I'm saying I might be.
Yeah.
I'm saying like I'm trying to share like how I check down.
Okay, got
how
it.
I get through what I feel like might be burnout.
So boredom is on the spectrum of like, or on the checklist.
Yes, because I'm saying like burnout is like this concept. It's this big idea, and it is very real.
Yeah.
But then there's subcategories of like what's causing the burnout, and it's like maybe I'm bored about this project, bored about my contribution on this team, or so how can I get back to my purpose? How can I make sure I am fueled appropriately?
Yeah.
So I can get back in the game. You see where like, and I don't know if you don't ever get bored on stuff, but sometimes I'm like,
but that's an entirely different conversation potentially. Like your ability to be interested in stuff is a part of like how you construct yourself so that you're not facing boredom. I can get excited about damn near anything because I can lock in and find
but what
interest.
if someone can't?
That's something that they have to work on. You have to learn it. It's a learn. I'm not saying I'm just like gifted with this thing. I'm saying like a lifelong work. Cause I think there's something about like somebody sharing their experience and how they've become. And it sounds to some people who want to take offense to it and don't want to benefit from that story. They'll go like, oh, you're being a show off, or you're just, it's like, that's dumb as hell. Like, I'm older than you. I've seen something you haven't seen. Just don't have to go through it. You don't have to go through it in order to learn it. So I'm telling you, work on being interested. Like anybody, work on being interested. If you can work on being interested, it's going to make you a smarter person because you're going to ask questions that other people don't ask. And the reason you can't continue to excel or zoom in, zoom out, and all of those different macro, micro, like, motivations is because you're not able to generate interest. You have to, man, what makes this tea? Let me read the ingredients. Oh, go down the rabbit hole. Get comfortable with going down the rabbit hole, but develop enough discipline to not go down the unnecessary rabbit hole when it's in conflict with you accomplishing what you need to accomplish.
Y'all, he yelling. I pushed some buttons. I did a good job. So I'm going to celebrate myself because I may or may not have been a little burnt out with Stay Sharp. I said, we need to refresh some stuff. And I'm just being honest. Yeah. We cool. We good. Like, I'm going to get back to the basics. I'm going to figure out what's going wrong. And we're going to come back and turn these cameras on and do what we do. So I agree with everything you're saying. You just want to be sometimes on like, not a high horse, but sometimes you just want to be on this like, yeah, I've been around. I've done it. Not everybody. Listen to me though. Let me finish. That's
a they or you problem. I'm saying I'm talking to the version of me that was always looking for me. So respectfully, but not respectfully,
that's
fuck
great
all
context.
y'all. I'm trying to talk to the version of me that needed me. Mm-hmm. That's why I'm like that with Devon, because I needed me. So everything I go through, I dump that shit back to him. So if you're stupid enough not to hear or learn from my mistakes or the things that I've learned, then yo bad. You're just stupid.
Thank you for the context.
Sorry. No, I'm not. No. Right? But that's why.
Let me just like finish what I was going to say.
Please.
Because I don't know if I still have it, but I'm going to try to find it.
Okay.
But thanks for the context. What I like about the conversation is that we have put burnout on this spectrum. Yeah. And we've shared some things, the unpopular opinions that may not be, you got to go through it in order to know.
Yes.
And so I am also really.
And sometimes on the go through it, but we'll get
sometimes, yeah. But I really do think that if people knew, if I can make myself interested, like in that's something that is even on the table for me, that could save you from some of the boredom, the burnout, maybe some of the confusion, especially in regards to certain like creative work, professional development. Like, how do I make myself interested in things that my team needs of me, my business needs of me, even though it's not really my strength or I didn't anticipate needing to do this. Mm-hmm. Listening to something earlier today, and the guy was talking about how he hires for his
His weaknesses.
Like his podcast team or
okay.
no, his team of podcasts. This was literally the brand director for Alex Hermosi and Layla. He was sharing how as a hiring manager, when he's got to put that hat on, you know, he's hiring someone that has a specific skill, but he wants to hire someone that also knows they're going to be asked to do things that are outside of their skill set sometimes for the sake of the team. Like that's part of being on a team, right? So as a young creative, I giving back to myself 4, 5, 6 years ago, I'm wanting someone to tell me like, just to continue to encourage me to learn about things that make me uncomfortable because even though you may not end up doing it like full time later, or it may not even be a thing, it'll help you understand the grand scheme of things of just how this venue operates, how this project needs to flow, how you need to talk and negotiate negotiating contracts from 6-7 figure contracts to negotiating just a couple hours of exchange or barter. Right. Like, what does that look like? Right. So I agree with everything you're saying. Yeah. For a minute there, it just sounded like you were just talking about like, you were talking from your experience rather than, hey, y'all, this is on the table for y'all too. Y'all can move through it like this.
And look, if I need to source like the people that I've learned from, like the most impactful thing in this space, like in what we're talking about, that I ever got was Charlie Munger saying, and I'm paraphrasing, but source your most cherished belief and look to destroy it. Mm-hmm. Like, so whatever you believe the most, oh, that's just my body. That's just my brain. It's just my environment. It's just my city. Go and examine, get interested in figuring out why you think that and try to destroy it. And if it can't be destroyed, then it's just true. But more likely than not, you're full of shit.
Strong opinions, loosely held.
Correct. So when you find that, and I love that because sometimes those kinds of things are the quotes that somebody who is not interested will just let it pass because they're not interested in dissecting, the quote. And so just to unpack that a bit more, like literally have some passion about what you think. But as soon as you find that it's bullshit, throw it away. Mm-hmm. As soon as you find that it's not valid.
Yep. Yeah. Y'all. I think that was one of them ones. That's one of them topics. We all go through this. I wanted to at least shed a little bit of light about what we think about burnout and how we approach that, some of the stuff we deal with, how we move through it at any given time. You know, you might just be tired. You might just be bored. You might be unclear.
You might need reframing.
You might need some reframing.
Yeah. So like writing habits, do you have a writing or journaling habit? Are you in a leadership position? If you're not and and you have bad leadership, that could be a thing too. But maybe you can coach from, lead from behind?
Manage up.
Manage up. There you go.
And do you know that that's plausible on the table for you?
But yeah, I said all of that was plausible.
Yeah.
But I think it's really important to have or bring an inquisitive, questioning mind to things. That's the action to being interested in things. And then you can find a way to be motivated.
Yeah.
And last thing around this, like, that's why I lean on basketball personally so much, because it's taught these principles in a real, like, live action way. Like, the results are binary. Either you are doing what's going to lead to championships or wins, or you're not.
Yeah.
Right. And so you watch, like, the higher people go, and again, using like Kobe and LeBron, they're playing other games. They're doing other things other than playing the game, because you can't sustain that level of intensity without finding different ways of motivating and moving yourself around.
Yeah. Stay curious. Whatever YG said.
Yeah.
I want to remind everybody about MindSetShift. Remember, that is our live series that is starting next week. All right. May 2nd. Mm-hmm. Let me double check that date. Yes, Thursday, May 2nd at 4 p.m. Central. We are talking, this is a little bit of an elaboration on the concept of burnout, but we're talking about utilizing systems to overcome creative slumps. So how you can have systems in place to really overcome whatever those slumps, those ruts, those moments are where you just not really as engaged. So we all have them. There's systems that Rashad and I are going to share about that. And if you have any questions about burnout, you want us to talk about a specific experience that we've had with burnout. If you want to share something, ask a question, leave that in the comments, send us a DM on Instagram so we can talk about that. It'll be live. You'll be able to comment, get in the conversation with us. Yeah. But just remember, Mindset Shift is Thursday, May 2nd at 4 p.m. Central on the Stay Sharp page.
On YouTube.
Thank you so much for tuning in to this episode of Stay Sharp. Again, I'm Jordan Ray.
I'm Rashad Tyler.
And stay sharp.